3:47 a.m., the Strait of Hormuz. A single A-10C Thunderbolt, 2 cuts through the dark, flying at 800 feet above the black water. It is loud, it is heavy, it is moving at barely 345 miles per hour. To any radar operator on the Iranian coast, this is a target. It is 25 tons of titanium and high explosive potential wandering alone into a hornet's nest. This looks like a billion-dollar mistake in the making. 20 miles to the north, 2 Iranian F-14A Tomcats bank hard decelerate to intercept. The Tomcat is a legend of defiance, kept flying through decades of sanctions and reverse engineering. The lead Iranian pilot centers the Warthog on his display. He sees a slow, lumbering American jet that has no business being here. He checks his weapon status. A legacy AIM-54 Phoenix missile is energized and ready. This is supposed to be the easiest kill of his career. 3:53 a.m., the A-10C Thunderbolt. Pilot reaches for the electronic warfare panel and toggles the ALQ-131 pod to active emission. Instantly, the Warthog stops hiding. It begins broadcasting a high-energy pulse designed to simulate a high-value vulnerable radar signature. 30 miles away, an Iranian S-300 search radar dish stops its 360-degree rotation. It snaps 180 degrees and locks onto the source. A high-frequency tracking beam slams into the A-10's titanium skin. The radar warning receiver in the cockpit erupts in a staccato of lethal threat tones. The Warthog doesn't dive, it doesn't maneuver, it maintains a rock-steady 345 miles per hour at 800 feet. This is the core of an indirect suppression of enemy air defenses operation. The A-10C Thunderbolt II is functioning as a digital vacuum. Under the fuselage, the GAU-8 Avenger cannon remains cold, but the ALQ-131 pod continues its digital assault, forcing every hidden surface-to-air missile battery along the strait to reveal its exact operating frequency. Coastal missile crews at Bandar Abbas slew their launchers. The hydraulic motors whine as they track the American sitting duck. They believe they are prosecuting a kill. In reality, they are being mapped. Every pulse they emit is captured, time-stamped, and uploaded via Link 16 to high-altitude servers. The Warthog pilot watches his display as 3 more coastal batteries light up, their invisible energy hammering his airframe. The Iranian response is a hammer. On the tarmac at Bandar Abbas, twin F-30 engines roar to full military power. 2 F-14A Tomcat interceptors release their brakes. They devour 4,000 feet of runway before rotating into a vertical climb. The pilots slam the throttles into afterburner. 4 white-hot exhaust plumes carve through the salt air. As they pass 15,000 feet, the Tomcat's variable geometry wings sweep back to the 68-degree delta position. Speed builds instantly: 800 miles per hour, 1,100 miles per hour, 1,400 miles per hour. The Iranian jets are closing the distance at more than 4 times the speed of the Warthog. The lead Tomcat's AWG-9 radar goes active. It centers a high-powered beam on the A-10. On the head-up display, a solid square locks onto the Warthog. The lead Iranian pilot centers the steering dot and flips the trigger guard on the stick. Beneath the Tomcat's fuselage, the AIM-54 Phoenix missile wakes up. Its internal gyros spin to 20,000 revolutions per minute. Its batteries activate. The missile's seeker head slaps onto the heat signature of the Warthog's twin F-34 turbofans. The interceptors bracket the A-10 in a pincer maneuver, pulling 6 Gs as they bank into the final attack run. They have a weapon-quality track. The distance closes 20 miles, 15 miles, 10 miles. The air between the jets and the target is ready to ignite. The Iranian pilots are focused entirely on the kinetic momentum of the kill. They are so consumed by the lock-on tone in their headsets that they fail to monitor the empty air 25,000 feet above them. Before we get to the moment the sky erupted, we have to recognize the people who make these missions possible. Patrolling the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a job for the pilots, it's a burden carried by the maintainers on the flight deck at 2 a.m. and the families back home in places like Tucson or Norfolk who wait for a phone call that says everything is okay. To the veterans in our audience who served on these ships or worked on these airframes, we know the pressure of those quiet watches. If you've spent time on a carrier deck or a desert airbase, share a memory of that calm before the storm in the comments. While the Iranian interceptors accelerate toward their perceived kill, they are being watched by eyes they cannot see. 4 miles above the salt spray and the humidity of the Gulf, 2 F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters are holding a silent orbit. They have been on station for exactly 41 minutes. The F-35B Lightning II does not operate like the fighters of the past. They are operating in total electromagnetic silence, using the AN/AAQ-37 Distributed Aperture System, or DAS, to drink in the world. In the darkness of 3:55 a.m., the Iranian F-14A Tomcat fighters are glowing white-hot torches against the black background. The F-35s see the friction heat building on the Tomcat's leading edges. Below them, the trap is being sprung. The lead Iranian fighter closes to 20 miles. The Iranian pilot maintains a steady radar lock on the A-10C Thunderbolt II. A massive AIM-54 Phoenix missile drops from the belly of the lead Tomcat. For a split second, it falls through the dead air, a 1,000-pound cylinder of steel and high explosives. Then the solid rocket motor ignites. The AIM-54 Phoenix accelerates to more than 3,000 miles per hour in seconds. The energy is staggering. If this missile connects, it will vaporize the A-10. The American Warthog pilot does not flinch. He continues to fly a predictable, steady heading at 345 miles per hour. To the Iranian sensors, he looks like a man who has already accepted his death. The missile climbs into a high arc trajectory, preparing to dive down at 3,000 miles per hour onto the blind American jet. The math is simple. The missile is 10 times faster than the plane. There are 12 seconds until impact. 10, 9, 8, then the ghosts at 40,000 feet flip the switch. In a single microsecond, the electromagnetic environment of the Strait of Hormuz is rewritten. The 2 F-35B Lightning II fighters activate their AN/A PG-81 active electronically scanned array radars. The AN/A PG-81 focuses a concentrated beam of energy onto the Iranian F-14A Tomcat fighters. The lead Iranian fighter tries to maintain its radar lock on the A-10 to guide the AIM-54 Phoenix, but the F-35s begin digital radio frequency memory jamming. They capture the Iranian radar pulses, manipulate them, and fire them back. To the Iranian fire control computer, the A-10 suddenly appears to be in 10 different places at once. Then it disappears entirely. The AIM-54 Phoenix goes dumb. Without the guidance beam from the Tomcat, the missile's internal computer loses the solution. It continues its high-speed dive, but it is no longer hunting a target. The Iranian fighters bank hard, trying to notch the incoming threats they still cannot see. They are looking at their radar screens, but the screens are filled with snow and false targets. They are fighting shadows. From the internal weapons bay of the lead F-35, an AIM-120D AMRAAM is released. The AIM-120D AMRAAM clears the bay and its rocket motor kicks in. It is feeding the missile a constant stream of mid-course updates over a data link. The second Iranian wingman is the first to die. The AIM-120D AMRAAM is moving at 3,000 miles per hour. As it closes within 30 feet of the second Tomcat, its active proximity fuse triggers the warhead. The explosion is a violent orange sphere in the dark. The Tomcat's airframe, built to withstand 7 Gs of maneuver, cannot survive the overpressure of a modern missile strike. The wing snaps. The fuselage twists. The aircraft enters a flat, unrecoverable spin, trailing a 200-foot plume of fire into the black water below. The lead Iranian fighter is now alone. The pilot is pushing his engines to their absolute limit. He is dumping raw fuel into the afterburners, trying to reach his maximum speed of 1,500 miles per hour to escape back to the safety of the Iranian coast. The surviving F-14A Tomcat crosses the Iranian maritime border at 1,500 miles per hour. The pilot sees the lights of Bandar Abbas. He sees the safe zone where his own S-300 surface-to-air missile batteries are waiting to protect him. But as he clears the coastline, the 2 F-35B Lightning II fighters do not turn back. They stay exactly 12 miles behind him, invisible and silent. Here is the twist: the A-10C Thunderbolt II was never just bait for a dogfight. While the Iranian fighter was desperately running for home, it was emitting a massive, terrified radar signature. It was screaming on every radio frequency for help, and in response, the entire Iranian integrated air defense system lit up to save him. The A-10C Thunderbolt II is equipped with a specialized electronic intelligence pod. Every time an Iranian S-300 radar turned on to look for the F-35s, every time the Iranian command center sent an encrypted order to its surviving pilot, the Warthog was recording it. The A-10 was a vacuum cleaner for data. The Americans didn't just want to down an F-14, they wanted the master key to the entire Iranian coast. By using a slow, lumbering legacy jet as bait, they forced the Iranians to reveal the exact locations, frequencies, and response times of their entire defense network. The surviving Iranian pilot lands his jet shaking, believing he is a hero who survived a stealth encounter. He doesn't realize that by leading the F-35s home, he has allowed the Americans to map the very hangars he is taxiing into. Out over the water, the A-10C Thunderbolt II banks lazily. Its mission is complete. As the sun begins to peek over the horizon, the 3 American jets, the 2 Ghosts, and the Heavy Iron form up in a tight V shape. They head for the carrier, leaving the Strait of Hormuz behind. They leave behind a confused, bleeding enemy who still thinks the war is about who has the fastest jet. The Americans know the truth. The war is already over, because the side that sees everything has already decided how the story ends. At 4:12 a.m., as the surviving Tomcats engines are finally shutting down on the tarmac at Bandar Abbas, the Iranian Sector Command experiences one final terrifying anomaly. On their primary air defense screens, a signal suddenly appears. For exactly 5 seconds, the F-35s stop being stealthy. They use their AN/A PG-81 radars to pulse inject a digital image onto the Iranian radar screens. It is a way of telling the Iranian generals, we were here the whole time, we saw everything, and we could have ended this at any moment. Then the signal vanishes. The Iranian radar operators frantically reboot their systems. They check for hardware failures, they check for solar flares, but there is nothing. The sky is empty again. The 2 F-35B Lightning II fighters bank lazily to the west. They have completed their update. But the most action is still happening in the digital layer. As the F-35s egress, they leave behind a logic bomb in the Iranian communications network, a subtle delayed action script that will cause their radar displays to show ghost targets for the next 72 hours. Out over the dark water of the Gulf, the A-10C Thunderbolt II pilot finally breaks radio silence. Bigfoot, this is Hog 1. The barn is mapped, heading home. The response from the carrier is a single calm click of the microphone. No celebration, no job well done, just the professional silence of a force that expected this outcome from the beginning. The Strait of Hormuz is back to silence. The Iranian Air Force will spend months analyzing the loss of that Tomcat. They will try to understand how a 1970s tank killer and 2 21st century Ghosts dismantled their pride in less than 5 minutes. To the veterans in our audience who flew these machines, whether you were in the cockpit of a Warthog or working the radar room of a destroyer, you know that the easy kills are always the most dangerous. You know that when the enemy looks like they're making a mistake, it's usually because you're about to be the one who pays for it. Stay sharp, stay ready, and remember, if you can see us, it's only because we want you to. We'll see you on the next one. Disclaimer: we respect the truth, and this video is our way of dramatizing a real event to give the audience a detailed look of what happened. However, some elements in this video also present a hypothetical scenario and are not a factual report of real events. All dialogues and character emotions depicted are fictional, based on publicly available information about real-world military capabilities and geopolitical tensions. Thank you.